The life force of your bond, a power like life itself, unseen for generations, a dyad in the force.
How's it going, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Dyad in the Force, the episode where my voice is relatively back and not having any issues expressing and projecting. This is episode 180.
There's a little bit of that Rod Stewart rasp in there. I want to say, "Wake up, Maggie! I think I got something to say to you."
But I think I might have lost the Uchiha Sasuke. It's missing a little bit. But yeah, episode 180 on the ACOLYTE finale. Welcome everyone in the YouTube side. Welcome everyone on the TikTok side. Thank you to Mithrellis and Natalie Kathleen for all of the gifts, the roses and the bracelets and the heart me's. Force left-hander. Ooh.
Yeah, and Mithrellis, we gotta. If you would ever like to come on, I know we always love our civil disagreements. I always appreciate your point of view. So if you ever want to come on, let us know.
Andrew Strickland. I saw Forced left-hander and I thought, oh, Fisher. Now currently with the WNBA, I'm loving Kelsey Mitchell on the Beaver. So odd. Caitlin Clark reminds me of Allen Iverson. It's just full of breaking records, forces me to love a team.
Early Allen Iverson.
Oh yeah. No, but I still think he can game. He can ball.
he can ball. Just there hit a point at the end where he still shot as many shots. He just didn't make any of them.
Yeah. But he still broke records. He broke scoring records. He broke all-star records. And
he broke lots of ankles too.
And Caitlin Clark's doing the same. But through
I've seen him shake someone's skeleton out of their body. It's crazy.
But through virtue of Caitlin Clark, I've actually become a Fever fan. So it's odd how that works. Anyways, how's it going, guys? Choco, how you been? How's your week going?
Oh, it's been a week. There's been good, there's been bad, there's been ups, there's been downs. I'm very excited for stuff that I'm going to tell you guys soon. I can't now. Under embargo.
Do you believe George Lucas gave up his vision when he chose to sell Lucasfilm? I don't think that matters because he did. Like, as with all authors that give away their IP, their ownership of it gets lost.
I would say no. I would actually say almost unequivocally no. So for one, he was tired of making Star Wars. So people wouldn't let him do what he wanted to do because he wanted to be creative. He wanted to do weird stuff. He wanted to be experimental, and they wouldn't let him. He had that one pitch that was like a weird Osmosis Jones where you enter the microbiotic universe and tell a story in there, which would have been wild. I'm curious what it would have been. Do I think it would have been good? I don't know. Maybe. But more than that, his vision was to spend time with his children. That's his vision. He didn't give that up. That's what he gave up Star Wars for, was he wanted to spend more time with his children.
That's it. That's the answer. Craig McGuinn says Allen Iverson's severe injuries took its toll on him later on in his career. That's true.
Hey, Flower Kimono Captain. How are you doing, buddy?
But that's what made him a warrior.
Very soon. Very soon we're getting you on. Very, very soon.
Maybe we should do a mix-up episode, a mix-up week when Bleach comes back. With
actually, you know what? Honestly, I think next week should be a mix-up week. Acolyte just finished, and so before jumping into something new, we should do a mix-up. I've watched a crap ton of anime this past season, and I know you have as well. Yeah, I think it'd be good.
I always get confused when certain people say his vision of Star Wars. Yeah, I you know what? I don't think anybody knows George Lucas's vision other than George Lucas. You could read any books or like biographies, the Star Wars archive. You can read all that stuff to gain his insight on what he is giving insight on at that very moment, but to go on from there and claim to know his vision and say that Disney isn't doing it, or
they're not
disrespecting
doing it, like, we don't know. Yeah. All right, Flower Kimono Captain asks question: Kyber crystals, what's your color? I'm thinking green for element and blue for myself. And everyone in the chat, put your color. Put your color in there as well.
I'm orange.
For me, yeah, my color has always been yellow. I really like Ray's color, specifically Golden Optimistic, but like ever since what is it, Jedi Academy, which was still my favorite Star Wars game. I was always a Keldor. I always had a yellow lightsaber. And I varied. Sometimes I dual wielded. Sometimes I used a staff saber. Sometimes I just singles is still the most powerful in that game, unfortunately. But it was still fun.
Jackson on the YouTube side said, "So happy to have all these theories over Plagueis. So many theories of him needing to test and train Osha and May." Floodgates are open, my friend. Free Willy
Kimono
says
Captain is violet. Sean Heinz is green, but
Free
darker
Willy
than the norm.
says mine is blue changing to red, but that's recency bias. It's not exactly a static color, but that's cool nonetheless.
That moment was so freaking cool.
Yeah. The reason I choose orange is because I want to be a gray Jedi. I'm just kidding. No, orange is just I like the yellow of a fire, but also the orange in its intensity. And it just makes for amazing plasma, like on screen as well.
Yeah. And also, for me, I mean, Plo Koon used like an orange yellow lightsaber in Jedi Power Battles, which I was obsessed with that game. Even though I had the worst camera of any game ever, that game was amazing.
Do you think Plagueis is the master or the apprentice at this point? I don't think he's the master. I mean, in the context of Chimera, I don't think he's the master. Potentially, he might still. I don't know. I think Tenebris is dead at this point. I'm actually glad that they didn't like explicitly do anything, because I don't want the Bith a Bith Sith. It's the dumbest looking Sith race to me. I'm sorry.
That's racist. Let's see. The finale was incredible. Yeah, I still have my qualms with a couple things, but it was beautiful, and I really enjoyed it and what it did for Star Wars. And I'm thinking that Plagueis right now has not overtaken his master. I think Tenebris is still out there, and I think Plagueis is scouting the next generation. You know, he's doing his scout report, so he can be ready to take down Tenebris.
I can get behind that. I really want them to retcon. If they can make Tenebris as a Bith and make him look as terrifying as Plagueis, then I'd be on board. But at the current moment, all I see is the modal nodes, but Sith. And I don't know if I can get behind that. Maybe they can retcon Tenebris. I'm so glad I ran into you both. I'm so tired of Star Wars Karens. You both are refreshing to listen to. I appreciate that wholeheartedly.
Karen says, Star Wars Twitter has fell apart, though. So many people complaining over stupid things. Yeah, I mean, people are passionate about Star Wars. I do wish that it could be channeled in a more productive way. And that when we made our complaints, we actually made them real complaints. So like what people hear happened earlier in the chat, you know, people talked about bad writing. So we ask what specifically in the writing was bad, right? Because it's not an insult. And it's okay if you don't like the writing or if you think it was bad. Just tell us why, you know, and we'll see if there's any meat there. We're always happy to engage in good faith with any criticism.
Shout out to Harith in the chat. Blue because I'm a basic bitch. Gotcha.
Listen, nothing wrong with blue.
Dex and Download chooses Viridian, but ultimately red. I did not know. Also, shout out to St. Pat in the chat. If you guys are wondering why we're live on a Friday, it's because our boy St. Pat is hosting a cookout. And so our Saturday is going to be devoted to some good eats. And we may film some skit videos for you guys too. So that's why. Shout out to KG in the chat. Mithrellis asks thoughts on that moment basically being an accident. Osha's bleeding. I absolutely loved it. I think it drives home the fact that the dark side is chaos. And in that moment, you never know how much of the darkness that's boiling within you is overflowing. And the anger and the hatred while she was killing Soul was so much that it boiled over. You know, it was in her hands too.
That's one thing I appreciated, because I know early on people complained about the chunky lightsabers, you know, and I like the idea that those are just older designs, and that's why when that moment happened, the crystal itself was exposed, and I thought that was a clever little add-on to it.
I also think all lightsabers are going to look really hefty in Amanda's hands. Because if you look at the way that Lee Jung Jae is holding it, it looks like a regular lightsaber in his hands.
That's true. No jokes. Let's see. How much of the petty complaints to Twitter a byproduct is of being a haven for that in general? Yeah. I don't think Twitter. I'm curious what the conversation is on Threads. I mean, Threads seems like it was made for the Acolyte. Get it? Oh, Jesus. I think the series was actually made the Jedi more interesting, as it showed how Palpatine didn't rise to power because the Jedi were stupid. He rose because they were flawed, which is exactly right. You know, he saw the cracks and he applied pressure to those specific cracks. You know, he's a very clever dude. And yeah. Also, one of my favorite things that Palpatine does is in the third Queen's book, Queen's not Shadow, not Peril, Queen's something. Anyways,
Hope?
Yeah, Queen's Hope. In the final book, we have Sabe is doubling for Padme. She's on Coruscant. She's walking around, and like on this terrace, people started like getting like angry at each other, and she's like starting to get mad and stuff. And it turns out that Palpatine is like walking around, like just sprinkling dark side around. And just the concept of him, you know, I picture Hannibal Buress. I picture Hannibal Buress talking about dipping his hands in a pickle jar and flicking it on a sandwich for flavor.
Mr. Swag Guy says, I think the Acolyte is a max 4 out of 10 with points as well. I think I liked certain scenes and ideas. I just think it is carried out in a very amateurish fanfic manner. Interesting. I'd be willing to engage if you could provide some examples. I mean, I would grant that there are some pacing issues with the Acolyte, but I don't think that it ultimately resulted in an amateur fanfic manner. I think creative was stifled by their episode lengths, and there were certain moments, especially heavily emotional moments, that weren't allowed to simmer because they had to wipe transition to the next scene out of time constraints, you know. So
also, one thing that I do think is weird is when fanfic is referred to as like a negative. Like some fanfics are amazing, and there's actually a lot of authors who get their starts because of making really, really good fanfics.
To that point, I want you guys to do a quick Google search and type in how many TV shows out today are based on a webtoon. Because the number is staggering and it will surprise you. Webtoons, essentially, are fan fictions. But they found people to do the art and present them in a very pleasant way, and everyone is taking webtoons and making TV shows out of them.
I mean, Solo Leveling is fantastic.
Derry Dick says, just joined to say your commentary on the Acolyte has been phenomenal. Thank you very much. Do you think it should have been a movie or just more episodes? I would love more episodes, longer episodes. Again, as I said, the pacing suffered because we couldn't live in some moments. It had to go straight to the next scene.
And I still think having day and night split the way they were did both episodes a disservice.
Yeah.
Obviously, day a lot more than night. I think that could have been an amazing character building episode if done well.
I mean,
if it was given time to simmer, you know.
That's evident in the episode titles. Every episode is this and that, but then those two episodes are like one word, and the next one the other word. It's clear that it was day/night, like one episode.
But I truly believe that Day being episode 4 was a linchpin. You know what I mean? Like, if they could have given that specific episode more time, then you could establish the character and motivations and differences between May and Osha a lot more deeply. You could have introduced May's thoughts over, like, May just ran off to the next planet, not really even considering that she just saw her sister, and then you could have her marinating on that, because I still see people complain like, oh, she just changed her mind, and you're like, no, she didn't change her mind. She's had the same core motivation all along. You know, she made a new decision based off of new information with the same core drive. But given more time, they could have developed that a little bit more. We could have done more with the Umbra Moths, because those are really cool.
Yeah, that
Darth,
seemed like an
Dr.
afterthought.
Pete, fellow Darth.
Harith says 8-episode format isn't a bad thing. It's what you do in each episode that matters. I agree. The episode amount matters less to me if I know that some episodes are really long, just to drive home their story beats. Okay, so Swag Guy says, let's see here. A lot. It says a lot. I think that the inspiration from Anakin and Qui-Gon was too obvious, kind of like, here's my version of that relationship. I also don't understand
What was
Torben's...
Anakin and Qui-Gon's relationship?
I also don't understand Torben's storyline. All the decisions he made seemed like it was for the plot to advance. So Torben's storyline wasn't made for the plot to advance. Torben's storyline was a sub-motivator. It was all in Osha. It was all in Soul's decisions. And it was through Soul's decisions that Torben piggybacked off of him to kind of to rile up his anxieties. Like, I'm not going to sit here and say, I mean, the entire series of events happened because he wanted to go home. That's a reductionist view of the entirety of what happened. Like,
Young Aspen says, sub-motivator sounds like a ship part. True.
it is.
Riz Penny says, this felt like one long movie more than the other shows. No side missions or filler. I can see that with no filler and no major deviations. I will say each episode though did feel like there was episodic arcs. It didn't feel like there was one arc for the entire show. But each episode was broken up into its own mini arcs. That's what kept it feeling like a show to me.
It's hard to get into specifics with these character limits. Sorry, but I appreciate your perspectives. I mean, yeah. I mean, I understand.
I mean, I want to talk about Torben really quick though, because like Torben, I thought made the most sense. You know, like he was shooketh after Mother Anastasia got into his head, and he wanted nothing more than to just get out of here as quickly as possible. Whatever it's gonna take. And we see, like I've said before, imagine Anakin having to be on a planet and pull plants out of the ground. Like, that's not gonna happen. Dude's gonna freak out. He's gonna run around. He's gonna find something to fight and attack. And it's funny because this is so frequently happens in other Star Wars stories, but it's just successful, and so we give it a pass. What is it? In Brotherhood, Anakin is on a mission. He's just watching over kids. He's taking them out on a field trip, and then he takes one of the kids and then goes into an active war zone and like gets into intrigue and stuff. Like, that stuff is common in Star Wars. It just didn't pan out well. And what happened to him at the end, I get it. He made a small mistake, and that led to the destruction of everything.
Yeah, but he was also masking his anxieties by piggybacking off of Soul. I mean, like, the council doesn't sanction removing the children from the coven, and then Torben is like, yeah, but you have to admit that there's something dangerous about those women. And I don't think Torben really actually was on board with that, but he was just helping Soul kind of get things off the ground. It's like, I just want to.
One thing feels like people gloss over is Torben hops on the speeder bike. He's like, I'm gonna go prove it, and they're like, go get him. So he's like, I'll chase him down, and as soon as he gets there, he's like, all right, we're climbing this thing, right? And we're like, come on, Soul. You made no effort to bring him back.
But why would he run back to get them to go home after the council said to stop interfering? He says in the episodes, if they're the virgins that we're looking for, then it's our ticket home. His judgment was clouded. He was being hasty. He was wrong, but that's what was kind of fueling him. It's kind of like Anakin having the dream of his mother while on Naboo with Padme and rushing off to Tatooine.
Yeah.
In so doing that, he genocides that camp. And like,
mind you, at that moment, Obi-Wan needs him for a mission, and he just runs off. Yeah. Could Chimera be venomous if they rewrote his origin? I mean, I feel like he could be like an analog to something like that. I don't think he would replace Venomous personally. Leslie Headland has made it clear that she's a big fan of the Plagueis book, and knows her stuff. So I don't think she would get rid of that character on purpose like that. But I'd be into it if you can make an argument for it.
Craig McGuinn says, since Chonko said Torben was shooketh, does that mean he's receiving the Star Wars equivalent to being dissed in a rap battle?
I saw the comment and I didn't know what it meant. So
yeah.
When Torben fought those witches, you saw he was kind of right. He was a badass. And honestly, that's something we still haven't, and I'm kind of glad that we didn't for storytelling purposes. I do believe those witches were dangerous, and I do think something bad was going to happen to the kids. I think the kids are probably better off, but it was not his call to make and not his call to enforce. They just ran up on their tower, climbed it, jumped over the fence, and they pulled up with their bows and arrows, and they're like, well, why are you guys angry? We just like scaled your wall and jumped in the middle of your important thing, and then he was like, Obi-Annie, but he was cooking. He was cooking with those Obi-Annies.
Thanks for all the gifts, Nick Knock. Appreciate it.
Nick Knock Potty Walk.
Alex V says Star Wars Theory Solos, y'all. Not. Seriously, thank y'all for being genuine
That's
with the
funny.
Acolyte instead of doing the easy thing and hate. I appreciate that, man. I will say this: Star Wars Theory Solo's Cat in a Hat.
Does he?
Probably not. He'd probably argue cats don't wear hats.
This broke canon.
Isn't the Jedi Core charged to help people who need it? Ahsoka has some words about that. I think that's something from what you said.
Like, as in, Ahsoka disagrees with helping people, or she agrees with helping people. I don't know what you mean by Ahsoka has words.
Harris says Soul 100% stereotyped them. I disagree. If he stereotyped them, things would have gone off the deep end a lot sooner. A lot of his thinking and a lot of the truths we cling to depend greatly on our point of view. And from his point of view, the children were being harmed. And after speaking with May, and even though she misquotes Anastasia, May says we are to be sacrificed. Everyone must be sacrificed to fulfill their destiny. So
that line was so well written.
And so Soul is operating on the protection of the children. His weapon wasn't drawn when he was with Torben. Even with Coral standing there with her kind of pole arm, just standing in defiance, his weapon wasn't drawn. I think what happened is that he saw the smoke monster bit and thought it was dangerous.
Bruce Prada in the chat asks, what are your guys' critiques for the show? Not just positive points of view. I think there's quite a few moments where the acting felt subpar. I was talking to someone about specifically the moment where May decided to turn herself into the Jedi, and I think the acting in that scene was left wanting. I hear people call that out for writing. I don't think that was. I think that scene was written just fine. I wasn't sold with her performance there. I think there's a few instances. I still in the finale, I still struggle with the whole space chase scene. I mean, it was essentially Saul being unhinged, and like, she's escaping, I don't know what to do. And then Basil does a thing. That scene was weird to me, but it's mostly acting in different points throughout it that I felt, there's a few like sour notes on things that needed to be hit harder. I also think that maybe this will be fixed moving forward when we get more context, but Vernestra's portrayal felt stilted.
I largely agree with everything that Choco has said. I think I'll add to that point is the pacing as well. I've been saying it a lot in this episode. The creative was stifled largely by episode length constraints and mandates, and we couldn't live in certain moments and let it simmer. It's one thing that Andor did flawlessly. Yeah. We could live with characters and what they said and the decisions they made over the course of like 3 or 4 minutes because they had the breathing room to do so.
You could drop a line and just let it linger. You know what I mean? Like, people could give a fat speech and then just like dunk it, drop the mic, and then we could just be like, oh shit, But we didn't get that time.
But to kind of temper these criticisms, I also think that we have to, as fans, approach all things with measure. And even given all of those issues and problems that we have with the show, it doesn't make it bad. right? To kind of reconcile with some moments of bad dialogue, moments of bad acting, pacing issues. It doesn't suddenly make the show go from a 10 to a 2, at least for me, you know. It's how I approach many shows and projects and movies. It's something drastic and something very, very explosive needs to happen critically for a show to suddenly be bad, you know. But I largely enjoyed the story. There are some story decisions that I disagree with, but that doesn't make the show bad. It just means that I disagreed with that story decision. And so there's a lot of criticisms of the show that I have, but largely, you know, I enjoyed the ride. I enjoyed the speculation, the theory crafting, and what has opened up to us now with the theories. It's more good than bad, really.
There was also quite a few things early on that I had problems with initially that I realized were a feature and not a bug. So, like, you know, Element remembers that when Yord first came on the screen, I hated Yord. I was like, this guy sucks. and I realized, no, that's the point. You know, that's when Jackie's like, Yord's coming, that idiot. Oh. And I was like, oh, okay. He's like the annoying brother who like wants to be too big for his britches. Gotcha. Okay. And so a lot of those things I got over real quick.
Yeah.
But yeah, I like what you said about story decisions. You know, I was having a conversation with someone. I'm actually going to bring him on to a podcast episode later, but his big problem was at the end, he thought it made no sense to erase May's mind and leave her there.
I have a video that's rendered to answer that. I'm gonna post.
But I've asked, what did you want? Listen, they are there for May. This whole thing is to bring May in. They are looking for May. They have May sent. They are on May's tail at this moment. You know, you can conflate it and think, no, they're there for the person who killed all these Jedi. No, that's still under investigation. That's like a separate case that's happening. They are there for May specifically. They flew in on a 2-seater ship. They can't take her with her. He was planning to kill her, and the obvious choice is to kill her to tie up the loose end. But Osha is only willing to train if her sister gets let go. So, like, what else is he supposed to do? He erased her mind, and they escape. Like, that is the most logical choice in that moment. And so I've asked him, what else? What would you want him to do? What else was he supposed to do? Haven't gotten a response. Just it doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, I think the most reasonable part of Chimera is the adherence to deals. You know, I think for the most part, his motivations are definitely selfish. His hard sell on Osha is everything she wants to hear, nothing of what she needs. And he has zero investment in their closure from the Brendock incident. He softens up on May because Osha tells him, oh, I saw her with a lightsaber but she didn't use it. And then Chimera's like, so maybe she can do it. So softens up, goes there with Osha, sees that Osha's the one that kills without a weapon, and says, okay, Osha's the one that I want. But I'm still... And then, at the Bunta tree, he pulls the lightsaber for a reason. He's still gonna kill May for breaking their deal. And that's when Osha bargains. May was never off the hook.
Yeah. And May, there was an eyewitness who saw May. They caught her on camera as well. And so if she stayed out, you know, they would not have stopped looking for her. That would have just put them in more jeopardy. The fact that they were physically on her tail means that they would probably have found their ship, found them before they take off, see their ship. Now they're chasing them across the galaxy. And the stranger makes it very clear that that's not what he wants at all. He wants a pupil. He wants freedom. I think everyone got what they needed, except May, but also kind of May. She gets a second chance. So yeah, well, we shall see. M. Taylor asks, what species is Plagueis? Do they have a background of being strong Force users? So Plagueis is, and I pronounce it Mune. And do they have a background of being strong Force users? No, not to my knowledge. They have a strong background with money. I mean, the banking clan is like headquartered on Munelisk, and by Munes. You see a bunch of them in Clone Wars season 6. You know, hanging out with what's his face, who Anakin beat the crap out of.
Rush.
Yeah.
I wish that scene was just explained within the scene better. It makes better sense. It makes sense after the fact. That's valid.
That's valid, but I also don't want. I prefer when mediums trust their audience.
That's also a good point.
And lean more towards trusting their audience than, you know, I don't want to animeify Star Wars. And, you know, and Element made a great video illustrating this, but one of the places I've seen it is people like, well, they should have told us that what cortosis was and how it works. And I'm like, why? Who would do that? You know, what if in A New Hope, like, they have to stop and be like, this is a plasma saber and I shall strike you down with it. You know, like when Vader swung at Obi-Wan and Obi-Wan fell into a pile of clothes, you think anyone knew what was happening?
In that moment, Vader had an inner monologue. I've struck him down. He has clearly become one with the Force, a law that does not exist in this episode of Star Wars.
I mean, it's been par for the course. When in Return of the Jedi, Palpatine comes down, he starts spewing electricity from his little Velociraptor arms, and like, no one told us that could happen. You're just like, what? But he didn't stop and be like, I store up my hatred and compress it, and then I release it in a wave of energy. You know,
that's what anime is. That's what anime is. They literally shoot out a thing and then shout its name, because they're not even moving their mouth when they do it. Like, perfect example. Fairy Tail. If you've ever watched Fairy Tail, they shout Dragon Slayer art fire breath while fire is coming out of their mouths. How are they vocalizing that? It's just anime. It's just anime. They're shouting out the moves.
I would have loved like young Nashman says here, Luke pulled his lightsaber from the snow on Hoth and didn't explain how. It would have cheapened that moment if he's like, to me. I don't know. What do you think he would say in that moment if this was anime?
If it was anime, they would name all of their force techniques. Force pull, you know, force push, force choke, you know. Yeah.
I kind of want you to animeify the Battle of the Heroes. I think that would be.
I will animeify it in Japanese.
All right. I just want to.
You underestimate my power. That
might go hard. No, but when they're just obi-anning at each other, I want that. I want to take that scene and make a whole dialogue explaining it, but you would also have to make that scene longer to make it work.
Oh, yeah.
And it's like, I'm searching for an opening. When I find
he'll never see this coming. I have already seen it coming. I've taught you everything I know.
Although you know who did do that very successfully is is the Sherlock
Mithrellis,
movies.
we're just having fun. We're not like poking fun at you in any way.
Oh yeah, no, not at all. So, and I can't see who's commenting on those side. Yeah, that's not aimed at you. But remember the Sherlock movies with Iron Man, and he would be like, "All right, he's gonna punch here, a counter attack.
Oh yeah.
Hit him, you know." I thought that was well done.
Just imagining Obi-Wan in A New Hope. This is a lightsaber. It is a weapon of a Jedi Knight. It has a power cell, a cycler, and a lens. And it's powered by a kyber crystal that cycles the magnetic field within the power cell, the diacean power cell that contains the saber into a magnetic field so it doesn't radiate out and burn us with infinite heat. It is also found on Ilum, the cave. We should go there one day. First of all of that lore just didn't exist back then. It's funny. It's funny.
I love how when he cuts off Panababa's arm, and it bleeds, and then they had to be like, well, technically he's like a big bug, and so therefore it's an exoskeleton, so it didn't cauterize the inside because it's like a big wet nasty hole or whatever. I thought that was interesting how they
Luke would
you can always weave around things.
Luke would get super freaked out about it, and then Obi-Wan's like, oh, don't worry, he'll be fine. Lightsabers normally cauterize wounds, so that's just a little bit of blood. He'll be fine. Young says about Chimere, you hated him even when he was half naked. I hated him even more when he was half naked. Are you kidding me?
Is it okay? Yeah, but that hate was out of jealousy. I'm just curious.
Yeah.
Which character you were jealous of? Let's see. Young Nastyman says, "I must concentrate on the physical space my father's lightsaber occupies and reach out through the Force." Yeah, I went.
Oh, that was about Yord.
Oh yeah, Yord. I did hate him when he was naked.
Yes.
Initially, I was like,
that wasn't out of jealousy.
No,
that was like, come on, man. Don't you have like quarters to iron your clothes?
Put your nips away, bro. Like,
actually, if I may don some Star Wars hater glasses, do they really need to iron their clothes? Don't they have some sort of technology where the clothes come out fresh and clean and ready?
Listen, Elzar Man made it rain. I'm sure he has a Force technique.
The Force iron.
I mean, you watch Freerun. She learned how to do magic laundry. That was cool.
The iron is the technology. Honestly, I'm surprised we didn't hear more from that side about ironing clothes. Like they made such a ruckus on the metal detector. I was like, well, there was an iron. So, like, real world analogs, they still exist. How do they have lights and electricity?
Red Right Hand says, have to say, I was just coming around to Yord, but he went out on using a boss strategy.
He had potential the way he came in, but damn, did Chimere do him dirty. Jeez. Chimere literally did the physical attack version of "you are insignificant."
I really like the fact that Chimere has a hidden Shoto, and then once we got the confirmation that he's Vernestra's Padawan, I will bet any amount of money that he didn't have that last time they faced off, and that's why he got whipped in the back. And that's also a nod to the expanded universe, because Luke created a little Shoto specifically to fight against Lady Lumia's light whip.
I mean, I actually think the Tonto Shoto lightsaber was as a result of learning about Vernestra's whip. Like you can,
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's like I think he created that later,
yeah.
and keeps it as a secret, knowing one day he might have to face off against his former master, and he would be like, "Ha
Nick Amarillo says, "Force stretch, force pleading."
The way he uses helmet against Chimera. You know what I want? Give me some nunchucks made out of that material, so you can like.
Do you know how dangerous light chucks would be? Good.
No.
God.
I want Cortosis nunchucks.
Okay. But still, good God, light chucks.
They would be awesome. We almost got them. They are drawn up as potential weapons for what's her name? She was like,
I think I've seen this too.
Yeah, they're drawn up to be used in the High Republic, and so in the Art of the High Republic books, there are light chucks drawn up in there.
Was it Lily?
No, what's her name? She dual wields, has green lightsabers. I know. Lily also dual wields. The black chick has the undercut.
Oh, it's Keeve Trennis.
Keeve Trennis, yes, that's Keeve.
What's up, Con D Savage? Been enjoying your takedowns as of late. It's good to see you here.
Sidechamp says, which material is easier to understand? Canon and Legends. I think you mean Canon or Legends. And Canon is far, far clearer. I mean, I was just talking about Luke facing off against Lady Lumia and her light whip. So the backstory there is that Luke started to fall for a girl, another rebel, and they went on a secret mission into an Imperial base. And when they were fleeing that mission, they had to steal TIE fighters. And so they're in TIE fighters, they're shooting down other TIE fighters. Everyone's in TIE fighters. So he accidentally shoots down his girlfriend. And he's like, I thought the Force would have warned me. And it didn't. And if that happened now, people would lose their crap over they've destroyed Luke. Turns out she was a spy the entire time. She was working for the Empire and was a spy in the rebel camp. And so after she was picked up from the rubble, they replaced parts of her with cybernetics, and she became a villain, and she turned into Lady Lumia, the Dark Lady of the Sith, who then faced off against Luke a number of times and then corrupted Jason. And it was a whole thing. There is a bug that has mouths on its chest, and when you make out with its chest mouths, you get younger. That's a thing that happened in Star Wars. Legends is weird. Legends
chest mouth makes me think of Web Weaver. Omega Ford says, do you know what the loading circle animation is called? For Mac, it's called the pinwheel. For the PC, it's called the buffering circle.
All I know is it pisses my cat off, and she attacks my screen. He attacks my screen.
Daxon says, as a weapons history teacher, I just don't see how a whip makes that scar. Whips make lashes, not swirls. Pretty much my only big gripe. Except it's a lightsaber whip, not a regular whip.
Have you seen Ribbon Riders? Do you guys remember those from the 90s? Oh, I don't know. Let's see. Which books are credible to buy and to understand canon? Yeah, I'd recommend you could get the Star Wars book. There is an updated and expanded, like Star Wars Encyclopedia. There's the Timelines books. But honestly, I recommend just reading books, like getting books that are fun to read. Starting with The Living Force by John Jackson Miller. I think that's a great one to jump into.
I would also recommend Secrets of the Sith and Secrets of the Jedi. It's Secrets of the Jedi is written from Luke's perspective. Secrets of the Sith is written from Palpatine's perspective, and there's a lot to understand about the Force and the Jedi and the Sith from those books.
It's Maisha says, I see floating geometry equations appearing around me as you explain Legends lore. Now, some of it's really, really cool. Some of it's really, really weird, you know?
Can you guys read Orabesh? I can read most of it, but I do have a decoder ring that I wear that I can quickly reference. But you know who can read it like fluently is our friend Bucky.
Yeah. Also known as Gingers Are Plants.
I would recommend starting.
I had to make sure I said it right because I was correct. I'd say gingers are roots. She's like,
I would recommend starting in an era character you like. That's also a good recommendation.
yeah.
If you want to start in the earliest history of canon, you would start with Light of the Jedi. If you want to start in the prequels, like Choco said, Living Force. If you want to start even later, I always recommend Lost Stars. But I think the majority of my recommendations would be High Republic.
I know the guys at UTini, if they're ever at a bookstore and they see a copy of Lost Stars, they just buy it. Because whenever someone asks them, they just give it to them.
That's good. Well, now you know two people who can read it fluently. Right on.
Ooh.
I know like 6-7 characters like as I see them, but then it's always like certain consonants where I always have to look it up. But I think it's enough to recognize certain characters and then just kind of fill in the blanks like we usually do.
Yeah, I have to decode it every time. Like, yeah, it's definitely not fluent, but I'm always like, okay, because of the frequency of this probably this letter, because of these are several, doubles, so there's probably this one, and then like work it out from there.
The easiest one is an upside down T. That's the T.
Living Force, Lost Stars, Secrets of the Force, High Republic, Jedi and Sith Secrets. Yeah, that's roughly it. It's a good list, and yeah, run with it.
I'm heading out, guys.
I will
Love
say,
your thoughts. Keep up the good work. Appreciate you stopping by, Natalie.
Yeah. Underrated non-trilogy trilogy is if you read the Living Force, and then you take that into Brotherhood. Not Brotherhood. Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan. Yeah. So you take that, then you read Padawan, and then you read. You already know. My brain's not working. I'm sorry. It's a long day at work.
I don't know off the top of my head. I mean, wait. There's Living Force. There's Padawan. There's Queen's Shadow.
No, the other book with Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan when he's
Master and
older.
Apprentice.
Master and Apprentice. Master and Apprentice. I truly do want to think we should move the podcast to Fridays. So.
Truly? You think so?
I do.
How many people? All right, for people in the YouTube side, people on the TikTok side, would you guys like to move Dyad in the Force to Fridays? Is that better for you guys in terms of attendance and in terms of like being free to watch? Let me know, because I essentially have it on Saturdays because every day is filled with other live podcasts typically, and I didn't want to step on anyone's toes. I would watch more on Friday, says Mithrillis. Young says, not gonna lie, this gaslit me into thinking it was Saturday. Well, I'd rather not compete with a bigger podcast, but if it's better for y'all. That's what I'm talking about, Dexon. I think you have your own podcast on this day too, I believe.
Oh, Master Allen says my attendance is going to be spotty at the best of times. We're bringing you up quite a bit on the Jared the Dark Jedi's podcast as well. Man, we got to talk more. Life has been insane.
Don't compete with Podwans. Yeah, I hear you, Harith. It's tough, really. But I think we could move it if enough people, if it works for enough people. But again, like I said, there's a lot of other podcasts that are on Friday nights, and a lot of them do share the same audience. So we'll think about it. We'll talk about it in private and see what works best. Choco needs to mirror his aura bash on his avatar. Flipping to capitalized letters isn't canon. I think Pat did that, right? Pat did your avatar.
Yes. Oh, I will take that under advisement.
Are we talking about which book we are starting with if we've never read a Star Wars book? We are, for the most part. Like, if you have any questions about that, definitely, I always fall on recommending whichever is you're most interested in.
My son says, I put 55 hours into the dojo this week already, but otherwise I'd be happy to jump on more Fridays. That's a lot of time in the dojo, man. Take some time for yourself, though,
Take some time for a strawberry shortcake.
I need you strong and healthy so we can make fun of Anakin.
I'd give my left hand to have some of our moots watch my pod. I watch it.
Who said that?
Jackson. I mean, I don't watch consistently because my Fridays are always kind of up in the air. By the way, smooth reminder or friendly reminder. Why do you say smooth?
Smooth.
Friendly reminder. Next Friday is Deadpool.
Yes.
I
remember. Also, just so you know, something I realized, and I didn't correct because I think it's actually better this way, is that we actually booked it at a different theater than the one we were at previously, but it's going to be a better experience.
Gotcha.
Not necessarily a better. No, this one is like literally on the ocean, and so like there's a whole little downtown area. You can get some food. It's by the beach.
Ooh,
and we stroll
some
in there.
Seafood. Yeah.
This is the theater that I go to a lot because it's always empty. No one ever sees movies here. I feel bad for them, but it's amazing.
Well, hopefully there'll be some people because half of me enjoys the experience of the energy of the crowd, especially for Deadpool.
For this one, there will probably be better.
Also, hi, it's my first time here. Well, thank you for joining us, Erica. ACOLYTE had so much lore I didn't know. I'll take any starter. If you'll take any starter, I highly recommend Light of the Jedi by Charles Soule. That's the earliest book we have in canon, and it is, the best representation we have of the Jedi as they were supposed to be.
Yes. I'm also going to just toss out there, just because it's a favorite of mine, Dark Disciple. We get some Night Sister lore, so some cool Force things, some dark side stuff. It was initially created as a arc on the Clone Wars. So yeah. Master Allen says, I feel like I should move out west. Hang out with you guys on the regular would be nice. It would St. be Pat is doing a barbecue tomorrow, and like it's all Dyad people. It's awesome.
Yeah, I mean, I can't really speak to how difficult it would be to move your dojo and your operations and your family, but absolutely would love if you came if you came to the West Coast. Like, we're gonna be doing a lot more of like these cookouts and these hangouts for the LA crowd and the California crowd. DePaul was actually kind of taken aback. He didn't have a cookout invitation. I was like, man, you up there in the north, sir. But yeah, the more the merrier.
Also, we do plan to do something on the East Coast next year. So it's just a lot more difficult to plan when
it's going to be a larger thing to plan for sure. Young cries in the East Coast. Listen, there's coral in the West.
No, we do have to head out to Florida sometime because we also have to pay a visit to Christy as well at some point.
That's true.
And our good friend Darius.
No, there isn't? Oh, dang. I didn't know. Shows how much I know.
There's no... Okay, there may not be any coral, but you would love to study in, like, Monterey.
Monterey?
The shelf... The ocean shelf there is so steep that they can research things that you would only find like deep ocean, but like right off the shore, and so it's crazy. Lots of jellyfish there.
Not the stuff I study work with. There are deep sea coral, but no coral that I work with. Gotcha. My head theory is Iscat species is an offshoot of Sith pure. I've been saying this for a while now. That is the canon Sithari, but it also I don't want to say this, but I think I'm gonna have to. If that is in fact the Sithari canon Sithari, that cheapens the story of the Sithari we have in terms of being genocided by the first Dark Jedis. I say genocide liberally, but it wasn't really. It's more of a subjugation, but yeah.
So my live might cut off soon because I got a pop-up saying we've detected inactivity, but it won't load the image.
Keep pressing refresh. I had to refresh it like 30 times to get an image. Like I literally had to spam refresh. I had the same thing.
Dang. Jedi 83 Joser sipping on a cherry lime Jack Daniels. Cheers, everyone. Alan says Voodoo Ranger New England IPA. IPA, dude. I appreciate that. You would do well in San Diego, my friend. We drink lots of IPAs out here.
Can you recommend some Star Wars books or comics? So the first book I would recommend is Light of the Jedi by Charles Soule. If you are a prequel fan, I would recommend The Living Force by is it John Jackson Miller? And for comics, there's no better place to start than Vader 2017.
Yep.
And Star Wars.
I will say that comic-wise, there's also a lot of really good, like, limited series things. Like, there's a 5-issue Lando comic that's just, like, phenomenal, Yeah. 5-issue Leia comic. That's
limited
great.
runs.
Darth Maul, Son of Dathomir. Great stuff.
Bloodlines and Catalyst, Young recommends.
Yeah.
Jackson says Yoda comic mini run. There's a lot of,
yeah.
There's a lot of like sub 10 issue limited runs that are really, really good.
Jedi Joe says Dark Disciple is my favorite book of the post Disney purchase stuff. Yeah, I mean I'm curious to see what that whole list is, because if you love that, there's a lot more to love as well. If you love that, then I would also definitely highly recommend you read Brotherhood.
Jacob Mitchell asks, didn't Disney technically throw out the EU? No, they labeled it its own canon, but to that point, I would argue they also have canonized more of those concepts and more of those story beats than George Lucas had ever even considered.
Yeah, they actually respect Legends more than George Lucas did. Oh, Alan says High Republic Adventures from IDW.
Yes.
Like it's young, but I preferred Adventures to the main run myself.
And by Dark Horse.
Yeah.
Our good friend Daniel Jose Older wrote both runs, and he's an absolutely terrific author and writer.
Jedi Joe says Brotherhood and Master Apprentice are my next reads. You, my friend, are in for a treat. Translation: they respect Legends at all. That's more than Lucas. I still feel bad about what happened to Karen Travis, that her whole book series just didn't get finished because George was like, meh, it's not canon. Like in the middle of writing it, she was on the last book, and just yeah, he just dogged it. So anyone on my TikTok live, I do apologize. I've refreshed this like 1,000 times. It's gonna cut me off, and then I'm just gonna go live right again afterwards. So just so you know, I apologize, but yeah, it's gonna cut me off in 10 seconds.
I do hate that tremendously.
It gives me a captcha, but it doesn't work.
Well, more so than respect. I think Disney has largely done a really good job with Legends in EU. Why did I say Jean? I was about to say Jean Jones, but Jon Favreau, huge Legends fan, has brought in a lot of Legends concepts into The Mandalorian. Leslie Headland, huge Legends fan, has brought in a lot of Legends concepts. The lightsaber Tanto, excuse me, that might have been bleeding ear bleeding. Also brought in Plagueis. Plagueis was canon in name, but
the big difference now, I'd say, as compared to before, is now Star Wars is being made by Star Wars fans, which does mean we are going to stray from George's original vision, or whatever he wrote. But it's interesting because these are what the people who are fans of Star Wars see. This is where they go with things, and the thought, like, Leslie Headland is a massive fan. How could you watch any interview with her and not think she's a fan, so it's interesting that we can have people who are fans who came about in later eras who will have trouble because what they enjoy as fans is not being represented.
Yeah. I believe the only other EU Sith that was canon was Bane. No, Tenebrous is canon, and Dadu is canon, or Undead. Tanis is canon. Revan is canon. I forget if Noctis was ever in Legends.
No, Noctis is not from Legends. Noctis is new. Mama said Noctis.
There's a lot of Sith that was canonized in name, right? But their stories from EU remain largely uncharted. The Edge of Balance manga series for the High Republic is really good. Absolutely.
I'm offended. They switched from my life to yours when it got shut down. Which is okay. No worries. Yeah, Edge of Balance is actually really great though. Lily Toriasi is awesome. And Arcan?
Lily Tora awesome.
Archon? I mean, who doesn't like Wookiee Jedi? We saw what they can do. That was terrifying. Like, I was the whole time when May was like, okay, I'm gonna get killed with no hands. I'm like, the hell you are? It's a Wookiee. You can't kill a a Jedi can't kill a regular Wookiee with,
See,
without
look, even Kymir didn't.
it. Yeah.
He's like,
Kymir's
listen,
like, all right, never mind.
it's not impossible, and then goes ahead and freaking lightsabers him. Jedi Historian asks, did you guys change days? I thought the show came on Saturdays. It is typically Saturdays. We do have a cookout to attend, being hosted by our good friend St. Pat, and there's going to be a lot of Dyad people there. So for this week only, it's on Friday, but we are talking about whether or not it will permanently shift to Fridays. We'll see.
Yeah.
Where do you think the comics will go now that the main run is ending?
Cleveland.
I think it's gonna start going backwards in time.
Well,
we've been saying this.
Go back.
We've been saying this for a while. We really want Star Wars to get the hell out of the Skywalker saga. And that's not out of malice or anything. It's just we really want original characters and original stories. Like, I'm tired now of having to explain how something doesn't have anything to do with Anakin. Like, I'm tired of that. I mean, it's probably going to happen. Like, we're probably going to get the 100-year darkness, and starting from year 1 of that story, we're going to have a very special Jedi, and they're going to be like, well, that makes canon less special. I mean, that makes Anakin less special. Like, stop. In the 25,000 years of Star Wars,
I feel like there are people watching the show, and everything that they see, they say, "How does this make Anakin worse?"
Yeah.
Oh, that's even if they, yeah. Sasha Land, I can't see your name. I'm sorry. Says opinion on the Plagueis cameo in the Acolyte. Don't know if it's already been asked or not. Definitely has, but I really enjoyed it. I think Munes look stupid in general, and they made this one look menacing and dark side, and they actually made him look a lot like some of the artwork as well. So yeah, I'm into it.
Every time you say Mune, I think of Frankie Muniz. I don't know why. That's why I say Moon. But yeah.
But then I say that's no moon.
It's
that's where my mind goes.
So like, just to kind of continue my thought process just from a little bit earlier. The existence of other myths does not detract from other myths. The story of Thor and Odin and the Norse pantheon does not make Hercules less special. The Iliad and the Odyssey. Several myths coexist, and they're all equally special to their own cultures.
No, you're ruining Gilgamesh.
And so when we're talking about 25,000 years of galactic history with the Great Schism, the 100-Year Darkness, the Jedi-Sith War, even in like the Old Republic, just there's going to be stories that exist where there are very special people, and it doesn't have to cheapen Anakin's story. Anakin's story is there. He has his own saga, so we just gotta be okay with these stories coexisting.
One of the things I've seen is people being upset that like Plagueis could possibly have gotten the idea for or learned how to in some way create life because of the witches. And to me, that's the most natural thing ever. Like, that makes the most sense. We have Palpatine, who was terrified of Mother Talzin because of Mother Talzin's power and the things that she could do. And she was out there reanimating corpses and having like zombies running around. They actually did make life too, that the Night Sisters did.
The Night Sisters were playing with life for centuries.
So it makes sense that they wouldn't have to reinvent the wheel. But more importantly, every Sith Lord ever, all of them, every single one of them, was trying to cheat death in some way.
I saw a video.
Every dark side person.
I saw a video that Con D Savage brilliantly debunked by Eris, who said that the notion that the Coven had figured out how to create life before Plagueis cheapens Plagueis' legacy. And I gotta say, let me introduce you to Vitiate, who pretty much figured out immortality, life, essence transfer, and all of that almost 6,000 years.
Dude only lost because he got bored. That's what happened. Dude won. Vitiate's the biggest Mary Sue of all time. Vitiate was killing people as a baby. As a baby. He was literally a baby when he started killing people.
But Vitiate literally figures out what all Sith in history has been searching for. And he comes like 6,000, like generations, millennia before Plagueis. That didn't cheapen
He
Plagueis'
lived for
legacy.
thousands of years, and then he got bored, moved deeper into the galaxy, and it was like, I'm going to start a different life in like a family. Yeah.
If you think about it, Vitiate's family, what are their names?
Arcan
And Thexan and Valen.
Yeah.
They all technically make Anakin look like small fry. But that's
true.
But that's what the Old Republic was. It was just full of crazy powerful Sith Lords who could also become Force ghosts, and that's largely where the lore breaks in terms of the Old Republic, but like it's all reactionary with these people, because all of this stuff happened in Legends a long time ago.
Okay, but it's some of the stuff I complain about though, like happened last year in Jedi Survivor though. So honestly, it's hard not to be like, I think they're mad because a girl did it. I think that's the common denominator. I don't know. That's what I'm seeing. Vitiate is the Sith Emperor, right? Yes. Vitiate was the Sith Emperor. So, Vitiate is one of the coolest Sith Lords of all time. But we were asked, what's your opinion on her blaming it on Soul at the end?
I think that was the only thing she could do with the amount of information she has. Vernestra doesn't watch the show. She has a whole bunch of Jedi dead, lightsaber wounds, in the first part, and she's asking Magadan, "What do you think happened here?" Very powerful person, lightsaber wounds. Do you think Soul could have done this? It's a very heavy accusation. Goes on to find Soul dead and the possibility of her pupil still alive before he turned to dark, as she says. And there's no other information other than that. She has the Force echo of what happened on Brendok. And I don't know how much of that was revealed to her, how much she gleaned from that echo. But that's all she's got. And so in an effort to kind of steer the Senate away from meddling in Jedi affairs, she has to tell the most plausible truth that she can think of, while keeping the door open to her independently investigating a pupil she used to have.
Yeah.
Young says, I thought it was a way for her to wrap up this whole thing and keep that senator off her back, largely.
Yeah, it did both, It can do two things. James R. says, I saw a video stating that the High Republic books are not canon. I thought they were. So I already answered it in the chat saying they're very much canon, but there are people who have chosen not to age with Star Wars, not to continue to engage with new content. And they're the ones who are crying about things now, and that's never going to change until they actually start. They don't read canon, so they are going to be lost when more canon material comes out.
Yeah, I just got a message in my chat. The High Republic is not canon like Acolyte. All right, bye.
Just a simple question before I go to sleep. They're in the Netherlands. Sasha is. Who's your favorite Star Wars character?
In Legends, it's Satele Shan. In canon, it's Yoda or Luke. But if I've recently watched The Last Jedi, it's Luke. Otherwise, it's Yoda.
In Legends, it's Jaina Solo. In canon, it's Plo Koon. But also sometimes Luke, and also sometimes Mace Windu.
I'll add to that my favorite Sith Lord is Darth Mar from Legends.
My favorite is Darth Barris. I'm just kidding. Darth Barris is the worst. Mar is cool. Darth Mar, his design reminds me of Legion from Mass Effect, and it makes me happy.
Yeah.
Have a good one, Sasha.
Malgus is a good close second. Yes.
And I mean, another great example. I think Malgus on some level makes Vader look bad.
Although, yeah. Although every time I think of Malgus, I think of Venzalo. And when I think of Venzalo, I think of Zillow.com. Young asks, favorite clone? This is going to surprise you. But Omega. Who's your favorite clone?
I mean, knee-jerk reaction is Rex. It's always been Rex. He's just the best. It's hard not to. I'm sorry.
Mithrella says, I'm thinking more and more that he's Emery. And listen, if we're playing with like how Sith Lords or how Darksiders decide their new name, I think Imri can very easily turn into Chimere.
You're playing with my Toby Obito idea, aren't you?
Yes.
If you say Toby over and over again, you start saying Obito.
Omega, she's great. I'm with Element. Omega is my favorite now. Omega is awesome, but Jack 14 is better. I can't deny that. Young's is 99. Bless
99 is a real one, right?
Bless his heart.
Every day we sleep soundly because 99 allows us to.
Was memory erasure already part of the lore, or is it a new Force skill? It's part of Legends.
Yeah.
I mean, the biggest memory erasure to ever happen was Revan's. But I don't think it ever happened in canon. Not that we know of, at least, right? Schrodinger's.
Let's see. Jedi Joser says, give me Luke and more Luke. Ahsoka and Revan.
So you want Luke.
And young Nasty Man says Luke.
Jacob says Joris Cabaeth was wild.
Yeah, a crazy clone who's like, I'm after them Jedi babies. He was weird. he was a weird dude. I did not like him.
Emery has the ability to sense people's emotions deeply in Chimere scene. Oh my gosh, you're...
And
Mithrellis
can't
is like
it.
convincing me right now in real time that it could very well be Emery. I'm so bought into this idea.
No, so I had the thought myself. I feel like Emery is too recent of a character to change their look that much. But I feel like they could write a new character who was almost like a stand-in for Emery.
I don't know
because
if I would...
we also got more. Because we got more Emery in the recent, Phase 3 book. What's it called? And it would hurt me to have him backtrack on that.
See, the thing is, I don't think I can. I mean, Darksiders can dye their hair, but like, Imri Cantaros.
Can he get more Asian?
Imri Cantaros sounds Filipino, but the thing is, when I disseminate a theory and I say, Vernestra could have done the same thing with Chimere, where he fell to the dark side and had to fight him. Like, I don't know if I can get behind them doing a stand-in for Emery, but also having the same story beat. So it just makes more logical sense that it's Emery. We'll see. I don't know. It's very, very well possible. I appreciate Mithralis for kind of like doing the hard sell and me biting it, but we'll see.
Let's see here. So does Omega count as a clone? Yes, she does. Let's see. Legends clones pre-Attack of the Clones is wild. Yeah. You could, when you cloned them all too fast, they were all just derpy, and there's like it's just super funny. James A says, if we're getting more Skywalker, I want Rey and Cade. I don't want that degenerate near our queen, Daisy Ridley. Here's what I would do.
Hold on.
You can.
Herod said, but isn't Imri depicted as a white person in a test of courage? And to that I say, so was Caleb.
Whose white baby is this? That is a Caucasian from the mountains of Caucasus.
We can go from Caleb to Canaan, and we can certainly go from Imri to Chimere. Just saying.
Let's see. No, okay. So, give me Mara Jade as a love interest for Rey. I think it would make people mad in a way that would make me so happy. But you could have her as someone who served as the Emperor's hand, specifically as Rise of Skywalker Palpatine's hand. He was stuck on Exegol. He couldn't leave. He was on the Omen harness, and he was like about to die at any given moment. So you could have a hand who is out in the galaxy doing dark side stuff. You can have her be the offspring of some of the Sith Eternal, who's like, man, my parents are so wrapped up in this, and she was born Force sensitive. She's not a viable candidate for a body for him, but like she could be used as an assassin or a spy or something like that, and he's in her head and he does stuff, and you can give her a near same story, just in the sequel trilogy era.
Thoughts on Abeloth, rumored to be in Ahsoka Season 2, and theories on what her feet will look like? No.
She has tentacles for feet.
I'm just saying no. I have no thoughts. Stop it.
Freddie Prinze Jr. is a very pale Latino who can tan. Kanan hit the beach, and I will stand by this.
Very pale Latino is such a funny sentence. Historian says Vernestra named her ship after Emery, so I don't think he went to the dark side. That doesn't mean he never does.
Mean, if I'm still not on board with it, but people, I see people talking about like, oh, like how could she do this to him? I mean, if he went dark, maybe someone controlled his mind or something like that, and she had to do something, and she ended up being the one who had to whip him to to save a mission, to save someone else, to save an exploding ship, to save a bathtub full of kittens or something,
Plagueis.
and assumed that he was gone. Well, yeah, she could absolutely name a ship after him over the memory of who he was, and then Plagueis can show up later and give him that juice and bring him back, just like they killed and brought back Venomous over and over and over again.
Yeah. I still think by that time Plagueis would be like 3, but in human years 60. It's weird to think, it's weird to think about a possible parallel between Moon or Mune and Yoda's species, but in reverse. You know how like 50 years infantile and then growth spurt, but
he comes out like
Moon
6 feet
comes
tall.
out. Hey, that explains their long grimace.
Hello, mother.
They come out and mature, and then that's it. They spend the next several years being old. Plagueis' age is not fully defined in Legends. He just says well over 100 or something. Yeah, he says in human years.
We've speculated that he would be around 15 at this time, right? I've said that in a number of videos and things, because I honestly didn't want him in the show, because I don't need him in the show. I think it does what it does on its own, fine and dandy. But he has never had a birth date in canon or in Legends. It was always fan speculation.
But even then, the notion of human years is akin to dog years. Your dog is 3 years old. In human years, that's like 30. And I'm kind of like simplifying that. I'm not really sure on the math there. So in actuality, if Plagueis is in fact, by virtue of real time, 15, like again, in human years, he could be well over 100.
Yeah, also that book plays weird with time. I never see anyone complain about, though, when like Plagueis tells Palpatine a story about when he found out he was force sensitive, and he was a child and he kept force tricking other children, and he did it over and over again until he made another little kid jump out a window. And then his parents are like, there's something wrong with our kid. and I don't ever see anyone come to the defense and be like, well, who taught him how to do mind tricks? That's a high level force technique. Who could have known him? And by the way, at this point, he hasn't trained Palpatine at all. He tells Palpatine the story, right? The Palpatine goes and murders his whole family with the Force. He's ripping bulkheads off the wall, and he smashes the whole security team, takes out everyone. No training. He's never actually outwardly used the Force. And I've never seen a complaint on that. That's weird. Just Troy, what's your take on the show? I liked it. Yeah, for me, it's an 8 out of 10. I very much enjoyed the show for what it was, and I hope we get more. I think it did a lot of interesting things, and it's left in interesting places,
Thank you, Erica G, for tuning in. Appreciate you being here. He could also just be 200 by the time he meets Palpy. I mean, in canon, he could be anything, really. Yep. That's why I say, even though I use the term retcon kind of loosely in this regard, whenever Legends is brought into canon, they could really do anything.
As of right now, in actual canon, is Plagueis Sheev's master. Good old Sheevan. Yeah, we joked that Sheev is short for Sheevan.
Do you think Tenebris will make an
No,
appearance too?
not necessarily. I mean, so in canon, we have what Palpatine tells Anakin, but Palpatine is a pathological liar. So he implies that was, you know, I think he is, but I mean, we could still very much tell a story where he's not.
Was that the answer to Tenebris being alive, or and making an appearance?
No, that was an answer to is Plagueis actually Sheev's master?
Ah.
He tells us that he was. He's not the most honest person, so we could find out otherwise. But I do believe he is.
Do you think Tenebris will make it? Will make an appearance too? If they choose to make season 2 further back in time, but I think if their intention with the season 2 is to continue with the story, it's going to be about Plagueis and his role.
All right, give me 3 seasons. Season 2 is about Vernestra and her former Padawan, and then by the end of it, we have Osha gaining enough power to kill them both. Plagueis emerges from the shadows and says, "You're ready," and then she joins with Plagueis, and then Plagueis challenges his master, and then everyone dies
except for Plagueis. I like that.
What if the show, instead of moving forward, it moves back in time? Yeah. That would be very High Republic of it.
Maybe it was Palpatine who was 200 all along. Listen.
Okay. Hey, real talk though. What if that is the next season? Is younger Vernestra? If it does a phase 2, and the whole story is
how he fell
30, 40 years back in time, and then season 3,
it would have to be longer than that.
Maybe. I mean, he says he implies he's been around for a while, but we don't know exactly how long that is. We don't want to go back so far that we are still dealing with the ramifications of the crap that Marchion Ro is pulling. I don't know if you got to the end of Temptation of the Force.
Not yet. But the reason why I think it would be further back is she's been training with the Jedi for 16 years, left 6 years ago from present. So
no, it was with him for 10 years. It was 16 years in the past.
Gotcha. Okay, so 10 years. I guess you could, but I'm still lingering on the "I've never heard of you," because if he was around at least as a Padawan, then he'd have to be around during her tenure and a little bit before her tenure.
So one thing that Lizzie Headland did talk about wanting to explore is Vernestra's time as a Wayseeker. And I'm curious if there could be a case where she's out seeking ways, doing her thing. And much like Kynarik finds a Force-sensitive kid and is like, you know what? I did this with Emery. Let me take this young whippersnapper under my arm, under my wing here, and that's Kymer. Now she would know who he is, but by virtue of being a Wayseeker, the information on him wouldn't necessarily make it back to the Council. It also means that if he got wayward, that she would be the only person around to try and fix the problem and address it. And if he fell and she had to strike him down, that would be a great reason to be like, you know what? Structure and order is probably better. I'm going back.
Yeah. That also makes me just want to sing "Carry On My Wayward Son."
And now I can't hear that without thinking of Supernatural.
Yeah.
We've come full circle. By the way, thank you for getting the actual DVDs, because the music on the streaming services ain't it. It ain't it. It feels like Watch Your Back. You know.
I mean, is that truly Plagueis? Listen,
Yes.
if Star Wars is good at one thing and is true in one thing, is its musical motifs. It's the same motif from the opera. That's just it's Plagueis.
Is this a super Wholock podcast now? So I was never a Whovian from Whoville, but I might start, you know, because he's black, y'all. Because he's black, y'all. He's blackity black. No, I've been meaning to actually give it a shot, because I honestly feel like I was a different person last time I tried watching it, and I think I'm a lot nerdier than I was at that moment. So.
Dexon says, I think Chimere saying it was a long time ago is a reddish herring. I mean, I'm 32 and 21 feels like eons ago. I do see that, but also...
Does that make it like a pink herring?
But also, when Vernestra says you're still alive, or you're alive, it almost feels like that statement is a statement that he shouldn't be. It could mean one of two things, like he shouldn't be alive because Vernestra killed him, or he shouldn't be alive because it's been that long.
Or maybe he's like Johnny Five. Is Johnny Five alive? Okay, it's a terrible joke. I'm sorry. I'm old.
I need more input. It sounded to me that she's surprised a human lives that long. I'm along the same page. Because when she's talking to May and she says, I need your help finding someone. Who? A pupil of mine, before he turned to dark.
Hey! Sorry, I saw Raya with Wolves popped into my chat. It makes me happy.
But again, she says, a pupil of mine, before he turned to the dark.
Yeah. Turn to the dark. Shadow do something with him. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of possible ways that we can take that. I did also get the impression that he was older than he looks, but you also have to consider the fact that Asian don't raisin. You know,
That's
he
exactly
could very
right.
well just be older than he looks. I mean, how old do you think that the senator was at the end?
Raincourt.
How old do you think that man is?
50s, 40s.
I'm curious. I can't remember what was his name?
David Harewood,
Yes.
as in the tortoise and the hare. But yeah, Manny Jacinto is my age. He's 38. Very much looks like he's in his younger 20s.
He's 58.
I've been told that I look like in my younger 20s. Before I had facial hair or decided to grow it out, I was still carded for alcohol. And what is the
Young Nasty Man says Element is older than me? Yeah.
And what is the
And
what is the
Element's
rule of thumb?
about to get is about to get older. His birthday is August 20th.
3.
August 23rd. Damn it.
But you know, the rule of thumb for carding, right? If you look under 40. So I guess
You know what's embarrassing?
When I grew my facial hair, they were like 40.
What's embarrassing is when I go places like with my family, and they think I'm married to my mom, and that my wife is like a friend we brought. That's awkward. I don't like that at all.
Mark Daniel Martinez says y'all are just newbies. Oh yeah, I mean we know some people that make us that are. I mean, DePaul, our friend DePaul. He's got a whole ass family.
Our friend Monty, Steampunk Monty.
Yeah,
that guy has stories. Like people should talk to him. He's been through a lot of stuff. He's very, very smart. He knows a lot of history. And I need to have him on again.
Oh, Choco, you have no idea how bad it is when I go anywhere with my dad and my mom isn't with us. I was young saying that.
Yeah.
I know how bad it is. I'm like a lost child in the. This was in my early 30s, late 20s when I didn't have facial hair. I was like a lost child all the time. Where's your mother? Listen, I'm 29. Stop talking to me.
Do you guys got a Star Wars tattoo? If not, what would you get? I want to do a quick shout out to Paul Marinchen. I can't remember his last name. I'm sorry.
Nice.
Paul is the partner to TJ to drop it like it's hot. He is a tattoo artist and makes the most incredible nerdy tattoos, especially his Star Wars tattoos are so incredible. But yeah, everyone put whatever you want as a tattoo from Star Wars or any geekdom in the chat. We'll talk about
it. Drop the IG. I think on IG it's drop it like it's Hoth still.
It is drop it like it's Hoth, but let me find Paul's right quick. Like I've been meaning to reach out to what's his face? Matt Martin. Matt Martin to tell him because he's
man, shout out to what's his face?
You have to understand, my brain is like constantly buffering. So I've made it a habit, and it's really been a bad thing now, but I've made it a habit to try and wait for people to say things before I think of a response, so I'm not just waiting to say something. Mm-hmm. But then I have to my brain is buffering, and I have to hope that I don't hit the end and start stuttering.
Yeah, it's like a YouTube video, and then like your internet cuts out for a brief second, and the buffering stops, and then once you reach that point, it has to reload the video again.
Yeah, exactly.
I've actually been giving this a lot of thought. For most of my life, I wanted this canvas to remain untouched. But recently, I've given some thought to possibly getting 2 tattoos. One right here.
Oh, damn it.
I was
using 2 computers.
One right here of this. Of the fairy tale crest. And then the other over here of, I don't know. Something.
Man, we got the 100-year mission coming.
Would it be basic for me to get the fairy tale guild crest and then the Jedi symbol? Would that be basic?
No. I actually don't see fairy tale represented anywhere near as much as I think it should. I put it in the chat. It was Paul Marino tattoo. Incredible work.
I want to get a sleeve of Luke's hero's journey. That is hefty.
Ooh, that is cool.
I'm trying to think of his entire hero's journey, and I'm like, man, that's like 2 sleeves. especially if you want to kind of overemphasize some certain beats of his journey. Sounds pretty pep, not basic at all. I mean, I always like, just personally, I've always thought just getting the Jedi symbol would be basic, at least for me. Some people have some amazing iterations of it in front of like amazing art. It's just like, if I were ever to get a tattoo, it would have to be very super simple, like minimalist.
I'm also a minimalist where I don't want Star Wars things that look like they're Star Wars things. I want Star Wars things that look like they exist inside of Star Wars. You know?
I also thought instead of the Jedi symbol, it would be Arabesh for the greatest teacher failure is. But I also imagine that's quite wordy in Arabesh. We'll see. I'm definitely for sure in the future getting this guild crest because I want to be in the Fairy Tale Guild, like officially. And I don't know if anybody else watches it, but the 100-Year Quest. Ugh.
Oh, so it has started.
Yes.
Okay. So I realized. So Fairy Tale was something that years ago I got mad at the pace that the anime was releasing, so I just read. I read it, which up to as far as it had released by that point in time, and then as a result, I don't know where I am like in the show, so I actually have been rewatching a bunch of it.
The start of the 100-Year Quest is right after now I forget his name.
Tattoo Face?
Yeah. It's because Daxon wrote. I'm surprised there's Fairy Tale fans in here, but it's because Daxon wrote Gajeel that I'm like, Jalal or is it Jalal?
Yeah, it's Jalal. Gajeel is the Steel Dragon.
Yeah. It's when Jalal gets redeemed and he decides to be a wizard. And he's
You're
like
a wizard
off on
now,
his own.
Jalal.
After the fight with Ethnologia. Does anybody watch Bleach? You kidding me? Oh, that's another thing.
Young Nasmia said, "God, he has Rebels Yoda." No, he says, "Get Rebels Yoda. That way, as you age, he looks more movie accurate."
Makes sense. That reminds me, man. Like, if I were to get like a Fairy Tale crest here, I could probably get like the Jedi symbol, and then maybe like a Fullbringer crest, or like Toshiro's Tsuba design. The star handguard, the Tsuba.
Ooh, yeah, that would be cool.
I don't know if Hyorinmaru has a symbol, but that would be the thing to get because Toshiro is my favorite Shinigami. Oh man, if I think about all of my favorites in anime, I'd fucking be tatted up. Holy shit.
All right, for anyone, okay, there we go.
Like, so I'm trying to figure out what's going on.
No, so this is only for anyone who's watching my stream. uh, but the TikTok app is like not very good. It's not very responsive, so it's not working properly.
At least you watch Bleach. That's good. Yeah. Bleach is really good. It's coming back soon, I hope. When is it coming back? I should avail myself to its release date.
There we go. For anyone watching my stream, this is the tattoo artwork from Paul. And look at this.
October. It's coming back.
I broke the stream. You should be able to see it. Do y'all see this piece of artwork?
I don't see anything. But that's for people in your stream, I believe. Should we go get our first tattoos? As a Dyad video?
I'm not ready yet. I mean, if we could get the community to pay for it, I would do it. But
community funded body art. Look at that is pod racing across your chest. Yeah, or your mind dies. Nah, I would never get something so substantial. Again, I was thinking.
He has someone has a tattoo of their cats as Darth Vader and of and Obi-Wan.
How much are tattoos typically on average? Like if you're thinking about something as small as something that would go here, just a symbol. You could tell we know nothing about it. But, yeah. Young, to your point, if I were to get a tramp stamp, it would have to be space butthole.
I mean, I'm into it.
But I'm not. I'm never, ever getting a tramp stamp. Never.
Anyways, thank you for everyone who endured me showing you his tattoos. They're awesome, though.
All right. Well, this conversation has been utterly fantastic. We love engaging with the chat and everybody with their theories and their thoughts of the Acolyte. I am wholeheartedly in the belief and subscription that the Acolyte is getting a season 2, because for all the people that hated it, you were counted as viewers, and that means the viewership did not suffer because of it. So thank you everyone for hating Acolyte and for watching it. I think D23 is coming up. I think we're gonna get a season 2. It's gonna be announced then, and it's going to be announced that
who's got 2 thumbs and will be at D23. This guy.
It's gonna be announced that Keanu Reeves will voice Plagueis. I'm very much in pursuit of immortality. They call me Baba Yaga. No. So last question for everyone. We'll
Gilbert Gottfried.
No. For real. We'll treat this as our hot take segment. Who should voice Plagueis? I'm thinking Gilbert Gottfried. I'm just kidding.
Will Smith.
What's with all of the immortality? Why do we want to live forever?
You sound like Roseanne doing comedy currently.
I am wholeheartedly subscribed to Hugo Weaving. Like, keep the terrifying alien look and have Hugo Weaving just being like, immortality is what I aim for, Mr. Anderson. Yeah, I think Hugo Weaving is a good choice. Jonathan Wheeler says Willem Dafoe.
Okay, I do. I kind of like William Dafoe, actually. Specifically because of his performance in one of the worst anime adaptations of all time, Death Note. But
Oh my gosh, did he voice the live action Ryuk?
That was him, I'm pretty sure, yeah.
Steve Buscemi? I don't know about that one.
Hello, youngsters. That's all I can picture him saying. Hello,
youngsters.
Fellow youngsters. Yeah.
I've actually been working on a Joe Biden impression. Could you imagine? Folks, we gotta talk about immortality. Just kidding. Seth MacFarlane. You know what? Would you be opposed to Andy Serkis doing it again? Not again, but like doing another voice.
That was my first thought, to be honest. No. I want don't know how to pronounce his name. Jimon Hansu.
Oh, yeah.
His voice has this rich timbre. It's got that a little bit of snakiness behind it.
There's also another African actor that I'm thinking about too. That is also, he's also like famously plays the African warlord in all of those movies. Do you know who I'm talking about? It's not Jimon Honsu. It's
Jimon.
I'm trying to remember what movie I can call up to.
But if Jimon also kept the African accent, I would be into that as well.
That's true. But I really need this. This is gonna like kill me.
Frank Welker is who Jedi 83 Joser says. I don't know who that is. Hey, what's up, Steven Reacts? How you doing, buddy? I'm excited. I'm gonna get Steven on to talk Star Wars soon.
We'll see if you recognize him, but this guy.
What guy? Am I supposed to hear something right now?
No, I sent it to you on Discord.
Oh.
Yeah, he was in 300. He played the Madness.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
But there's also another
His
one.
name.
There's also another one. His name is Peter Menza.
Frank Welker is a Disney legend. Let me look him up here because I don't remember who that is. Oh, yeah. No, he is definitely a legend. He's got range. I can't picture it right now because I'm only thinking of Freddy. But yeah, I think that. Do we have anything else? Any actual hot takes or anything?
I'm on the hunt for this other person that I'm thinking of. But yeah, sound off in the chat, guys. No, not Ernie Hudson.
Yeah, I don't got anyone else. Patrick Seitz. Patrick Seitz. I mean, we also have Warburton.
Warburton.
You know you would love to see. Oh, he's the English voiceover for Dio Brando.
Jedi Historian says Idris Elba. Nick Knox says Jeff Goldblum. Nah. We're going to talk about immortality. I don't know. That's all I can do. I really wanted to love this show because of the High Republic books, but I think I just like it. Yeah, that's fine.
That's cool.
Keith David Young says Keith David is always deep.
He's too many. He's everywhere. But also Keith David is Keith David, and he takes me out. I feel like for me, where Keith David jumped the shark, which I am enjoying him in Destiny 2, but I had to take some years off after Saints Row, where Keith David was just Keith David, and he becomes the president, and he's just President Keith David. That game series, someone should measure the trajectory of, like, starts out as a GTA clone, then you end up battling aliens in a virtual reality world with superpowers. It's wild. I have Michael Winslow, Police Academy.
Maybe this guy was in
Patrick Stace is also Shoto's dad, My Hero. What's his name? The number 2 hero?
Endeavor.
Endeavor, yeah.
It's got to be deep and sinister. I agree.
Tom Kenny, yeah. Being deep and sinister, going, ah!
Put respect on Endeavor's name. Endeavor. Prominence bad. That, first of all, when it relates to fire-based attacks and names, that's the most freaking gangster name ever. Prominence Burn. Like, yeah, Flash Fire Fist, whatever. But Prominence Burn? Jesus. Christopher Sabat? Oh my gosh. Now all I can hear is Vegeta. I'm the most wisest Sith in history. I have discovered immortality. And then, like, Kymir shows up. Kakarot! Just kidding.
Let's see here. Oh yeah, no, Jedi Joser. I definitely know Michael Winslow. By the way, when he just plays guitar with his voice, it's incredible. I don't know if you guys have heard that. Richard Horvitz, whose normal speaking voice is just Invader Zim. You know what? Actually, I would be down for Morgan Freeman as Plagueis. I feel like that would add a little something.
How that carpet goes from wall to wall.
No, the cameo specifically, though, when you saw the 2 long fingers, I don't know. They did Leslie Headland cooked. I just need her to do more stuff in Star Wars. I do absolutely need a season 2 because, you know, I need to know what happens. I'm troubled over their relationship. Did you, by the way, did you hear that there was at one point that they wrote like a kiss in there, and then they ended up taking it out, and leaving that on the cutting room floor.
Oh yeah, I think I read that. Yeah. I don't know how it felt about that. It's like it goes towards like your overall sentiment of like, I don't know, do they bang? Like, what's going on?
I'm gonna be your teacher, but also, Maria watches everything. They filmed the kiss. That it's weird, but also, hi Maria. It's been a while, and we gotta talk soon. I'm sorry I missed while you were going through specifically Korra, because I have a lot of feelings on Korra.
Is this the famous Maria?
He's, I don't know, my favorite Maria outside of West Side Story.
What's their at?
Joke. Maria watches everything.
Yeah, that's the famous Maria.
Okay.
Kevin Hart. No. I think
No worries.
we
We can always talk horror.
I think in the future of Star Wars, there's got to be a Chris Tucker and Jackie Chan Master and Apprentice dynamic. We need our Rush Hour kind of allegory.
I specifically need. I mean, I if we did a Rush Hour, it would have to be like a rebel spy thing. Like these are the two rebel agents that are meeting, and they are going undercover into the Empire. That's what we would need. Hey, Brian Fantastic is in here as well. Hello.
How's it going, Brian Fantastic?
Yeah, we've just been talking Acolyte and wrapping up. Do you guys have any hot takes before we sign off?
I can't find this actor. It's going to destroy me. This is my new albatross. Mark Daniel Martinez asks, Maria watches everything?
Maria's hot take is Soul was the villain. Rude. Leave some respect on my boy's name. No,
We need a Shanghai Noon
love
allegory.
Soul. And I love how at the end, he's like, "That's okay." You know, he's like, "I get it. I get it." Because he messed up big time. You know.
Yeah,
some things you can't fix.
I don't think he's ultimately a villain. Or what was the original?
No, it was that Soul was the villain.
Oh, I don't think he's a villain. I think he made a.
She's mostly being
mistake.
cheeky. Just he's a great character, but damn, did he disappoint me? Yeah.
I do. So this is my latest video, and we talked about it on Jared's podcast. Is asking the question.
Nerds of the Night Republic. Check it out.
You're just asking the question. You know, knowing or not knowing, purposefully not knowing what the Ascension was. Could it be that while, yes, he did kill their mother, he also saved them? And I think it's written ambiguously on purpose, and I don't think we're ever going to know for sure.
Yeah, and I don't think we should. Actually, we could end up finding out in the second season. You know, I mean, like I said before, you know, Leslie Headland did say in a conversation that Coral was not dead, no body, no death, and that we could run into her and find more about her story in season 2. So maybe we do, and we do find out that no. I mean, I think that would actually be a great turn for the character to find out what if May has reformed, and she finds out from Coral, who was the one manipulating May, that the Ascension would have essentially killed them, and Soul actually saved them. I think that'd be a sick ass turn of events, you know.
Yeah.
The Brian Francis says, well, so first, one hot take was that, no, not a hot take, but I loved the show. Brian Fantastic watched it mostly in one go, so he didn't have any pacing issues that the people complain about, which I also plan to do. I want to give the entire thing a rewatch. I'm maybe going to, wait 2 weeks or so before I do it, kind of let things simmer, let things settle down, watch the whole thing again in one go, and see how I feel about it.
And then start making content on Skeleton Crew. I'm really hoping that comes out soon.
If we ever find out anything about Skeleton Crew.
I flipped out because watch everything is my YouTube channel slogan. You should. Everyone should watch everything. Speaking of which, does Maria want to come on to Dyad and talk about a specific topic?
Yeah, I mean, Maria, Brian as well. You guys are always welcome on Dyad if there is anything in the future. We're going to be entering the dry seasons for Star Wars, so we would more than welcome people coming on to talk about things.
Do you guys think there's a chance of the New Jedi Order Rey movie involving the Yuuzhan Vong?
Dear God, I hope not.
No, but I think there's a chance of involving the canon stand-in for the Yuuzhan Vong, or at least as much as a stand-in you can get with the Grisk. Or maybe even a resurgence of the Maxine Warriors. They didn't go extinct. They went off into the wild space and, found a way to reproliferate.
I've never understood how they're a stand-in for the Yuuzhan Vong. It doesn't make any sense to me. I don't see any correlation.
No. I'm saying a stand-in as in spite of their absence, not as in like a parallel to them.
Gotcha.
Not as in a canon allegory or anything like that.
Brand says, love to join sometime, but moving soon, so don't really have a good place to sit for a live. Yeah, no, I feel that. You can always green screen your background and stand up, or as I am doing currently, on both my knees on a chair.
On your knees?
Yeah.
Is this an
I stand
OnlyFans stream?
Listen, Rex told me to. On your knees.
Balin Skull returns with an army of Rakatans and ancient undead Night Sisters after learning the secrets of Khajiit to fight Rey. Write that fan fiction, Dexon.
Write it, but we also need to establish who's around there, because an invasion doesn't really work if it's just Rey. You know what I mean? It's just her and Finn. All right, I got the 150,000 on the right.
A whole army shows up, and Rey's like, "All right, we can handle this."
Actually, I take it back. Give me that movie. I want to see the fanboys super mad, and make it look like when Madara fought the whole unified Shinobi forces, when he's just flying around, just tossing people in the air. Yeah, I do it.
I'm reading Revision of the Force, and I'm about to start the Vong books. What would you rate them, Choco? I haven't read the Vong books.
Vision of the Force? Yeah, I mean, are you talking about Spectres of the Past and Visions of the Future?
I'm just reading this message because I haven't read those books.
I don't love them. I'm sorry. I mean, it does some interesting things with Anakin Solo at the beginning, Also, we do get some development for my girl Jaina. Jaina Solo is my favorite Star Wars character, and she goes over to Lando's new operation and like shows people up by piloting through an asteroid field. Like they do time trials, so it's pretty cool. Overall, I'm just not a fan of the phone. Joiner Nest is terrible.
Is it?
Sorry, what?
Is it Killick or is it?
Yeah,
Okay.
it was Killick. All right, Maria, have a good night. After Skeleton Crew, what do we have coming in terms of Star Wars shows / movies? I mean, we still have all of the movies that are on the slate, right? We have more. We have more Mandalorian and a Mandalorian film, right? They said the Mandalorian film does not replace the show. We also have the other Dave Filoni film that'll be coming out, which is the Heir to the Empire thing. We also have the Jedi Origins, right?
Dawn of the Jedi.
Dawn of the Jedi. And
We also
the
have
Rey
Andor
film.
season 2 that wrapped in February.
Yep, Andor season 2. And also, they are not opposed to like randomly dropping stuff we didn't really know we were getting. No one really knew about Visions season 2. You know, it just was like, here you go.
Yeah, I think we're gonna learn a
Tales
lot
of the
more.
Empire.
We're gonna learn a lot more about what's coming with D23.
Yeah. What's a major complaint about the Yuuzhan Vong species? They're disgusting. They're gross. They're
They
gross
also
and I hate
lore.
them.
They're also lore breaking.
So they if you're gonna read them, I don't want to spoil that, but I will say they essentially self-mutilate as a way to augment their body with bio enhancements, and they don't believe in like cleaning or antiseptic. So these people will, you know, cut off their arm and replace it with a crab arm to use as a weapon, and like the wound will fester and like smell and all this stuff. They just pull off their noses. They just don't have a nose, not because they grow that way, but because they removed it as like a badge of honor. It's really weird.
Skeleton Crew is coming this year too. I think it should. It wrapped filming in January 23. So I mean, I think it's the most logical next slate after Acolyte.
I do kind of like the Yuuzhan Vong's communicators though. They use what are called the envelopes, which are like it's paired to one specific one. So imagine like
They're not Schick.
imagine like a flesh ball that will mimic your face but on the other side, so it looks like you took like someone's head and set it down, and then that head just becomes the person you're talking to and you have a conversation with them. It's gross.
It's like scrying, except instead of poop, it's a head. Shout out to Critical Role. All right, I think we're just about done with this episode of Dyad in the Force. It has been 2.5 hours of absolutely frenetic and amazing conversations. It's always great to engage with you guys on TikTok and on YouTube. The conversation's always been fantastic. Lots of love for Acolyte.
Right, fantastic.
We look forward to hopefully D23 learning about what's next on in the horizon with Star Wars. It could be Skeleton Crew. That thing has been wrapped for a year, more than a year. So I'm hoping there's a lot of like post happening. We'll see. But with all that said, thank you guys so much for tuning in and for engaging in the chat with us. We'll be back maybe next Saturday. No, we'll not. We won't be back next Saturday. I am going to KCON.
Okay.
So we'll be back on the 3rd. The
But
Saturday
we
of
won't
the
be
3rd.
here on the 8th because I'm going to D23.
The 8th is a Thursday.
I mean, that weekend. Sorry. I meant so.
So we'll be back on the 3rd, and we're gonna have conversations offline about whether or not we're gonna move things to a Friday, like permanently. But we'll see. But for now, it remains Saturdays. We'll keep you guys apprised of when things will go down. But thank you guys so much for tuning in. Thank you to Von Zoom for the rose, Natalie for all of the tiny dinies, the ice cream cones, the Let 'em Cooks, Nick Knock for the ice cream cone, Alex V for the cornbread. Ain't nothing wrong with that. I'm just kidding. It's a deep cut. Mithrellis for the team bracelet. Thank you guys so much for everything. KJ Young, Will, Daxon, Harith, Jedi Historian, Saint Pat, everybody, Eric Carter, everybody. But that's it. On to the next one.
For Light and for Life.
We are all Plagueis' apprentice.
And may Manager Cento's arms rock you to sleep tonight.
Ooh.